Look, guys, this video is only going to be as fun as we allow it to be. Alright, deep breaths, everyone. One thing I've never understood is people getting a bit too riled up when it comes to lists like these. It's like they get personally offended. Oh my god, you said my favorite character isn't as strong as so-and-so? I put a curse on you, and it's like, alright, like, relax there, Jeffrey. I mean, hell, if it makes those groups of people feel any better, my favorite playable characters aren't anywhere near this list. I mean, Hu Tao is like the bottom of the barrel when it comes to strength in this game. She's just a regular nigga. Like 95% of the roster folds her, and in what's now an extremely depressing statement to recall, Ganyu told the Traveler they were on equal footing in terms of strength. And look at me. I'm the personification of bliss. Regardless, a list like this just shouldn't be taken seriously by anyone who gives it, least of all fucking me. Hi, my name is Jeffrey, and I had throat pain just because I sucked a really big... Power scaling in this game is just downright horrendous. It's not possible to do. There aren't definitive answers as to who's stronger than who. It's all guesswork at the end of the day, but it is fun, so that's why I'm doing it. If for no other reason than because I do find the people who get really involved in these kinds of discussions hilarious, so the comment section should be a very fun read at the very least. I mean, yeah, you know, hell, I'll be in the comment sections too, fighting the good fights. But with that said, I think we can start ranking the 5 strongest playable characters by lore that aren't gods. Now, I will say number 5 was the hardest person to rank. I had like 5 names for people I wanted to slide in here. I mean, I was sifting through hours of Childe, Miko, Sino, Shenhe lore, all to come to the conclusion that I place Shenhe here. Now, before I delve into her feats, let me explain the rationale behind this thought process. There is nothing I could find between the aforementioned 4 individuals that makes one a clear cut above the rest. The biggest question mark is Miko. She's nigh impossible to rank because while I choose to take her at face value when she says she's the strongest yokai in history, keep in mind this is different from yokai. All she does is just lounge around and read books, so it's not really possible to say right now how she'd fare in anything, least of all a fucking fight. The biggest thing we have regarding her strength is that she opted to hand over the Gnosis to Scaramouche rather than fight him because she said she'd be risking her life to do so.
I handed that over.
You did what now?
Well, how else was I supposed to save your skin from the Balladeer exactly? The Balladeer is number 6 of the Fatui Harbingers. In terms of strength, he is superior to Signora. I'm not the kind of person who risks life and limb for any old reason.
So if nothing else, we know she's not much stronger than Scar a much if she is in fact stronger than him. As for Sino, while yes, he should technically have become stronger after his second story quest due to him gaining another Ba fragment, I have no idea how strong a Ba fragment is. I know they're pieces of Hermanubis, but dude, they didn't. If it was a significant jump in power, I'd like to think he or the game would have told us so, but we got nothing. As for Childe, the problem with Childe in my eyes is that despite devoting himself single-mindedly on the art of combat and being a prodigy at it, he still lost to the Traveler. And then the Traveler lost to Besht, and then Shenhe saved everyone from Besht. So I'd like to think it's reasonable to assume that if the Traveler is stronger than Childe, and Shenhe is stronger than the Traveler, Shenhe's at number 5. And now I will say, yes, Childe was fighting the whale for some time by Nervalet's assessment of things. We don't know how long that is, however, nor do we know how long Childe was actually fighting the whale. Given when this cutscene plays out, we see Childe emerge from within the whale, meaning it's devoured him, and who Childe was fighting from within the whale was most certainly the Shadow. But back to Shenhe, the one and only human on this list, probably. Shenhe is one of the most unique humans in Teyvat, and while she technically is a human, she's really stretching the definition of the word here. At just 6 years old, little Shenhe was abandoned in a cave by her father, who had hoped sacrificing her to a dead evil god would bring back his wife. However, little Shenhe thought otherwise, and whilst trapped in the cave with the god's remains, who had now taken the form of a black Seelie with blood-red eyes, 6-year-old Shenhe would fight the wrath of the god for days with nothing but a dagger in hand. It wasn't until Cloud Retainer was passing by and sensed the remains of a dead god that she'd save little Shenhe from her predicament. And while the god's wrath was waning, Cloud Retainer admits to us, even if she hadn't noticed what was going on, she still thinks little Shenhe would have prevailed.
Upon one's arrival, one could sense that the god's wrath was gradually receding. Even had the stalemate continued, one suspects that Shenhe may have still emerged the victor of the confrontation.
Keep in mind, it was also around this time she received her cryo-vision, making her one of the youngest we know of to receive a vision. It was after this Cloud Retainer would take her in and raise her from there on out. However, there was a problem. Due to Shenhe's prolonged exposure to the god's remains as just a mortal, she began to develop extreme homicidal tendencies, and her bloodlust would only grow as she continued to become older. As such, Mooncarver bound her soul with red ropes to suppress these urges, but this came with the unintended side effect of rendering her other emotions mute as well. While humans cannot become adepti, Shenhe has come about as close as anyone can. She's been described as having an extraordinary constitution that's allowed her to learn many adeptal arts taught by many different adepti. Being able to learn the art of the adepti is no small feat when one considers that nearly all the adepti are illuminated beasts, and it's a safe bet to assume that most adeptal arts probably originate from the prime of the adepti, Morax. That is how extraordinary her body is. And she can, learn adeptal arts. It's perhaps due to this training from the adepti that's led to her being able to do some seemingly impossible tasks that an ordinary human would be able to do, such as lift this fucking god-sent boulder that was said to be at least 1,000 pounds, although according to the fucking nerds on the internet, it's maybe closer to 367 tons, which is a little under 750,000 pounds, which, that sounds fucked, I won't lie. I don't know if it's that much, but it's more than 1,000 for sure. Shenhe's most impressive feat of strength, however, was the entire Besht incident, during which Shenhe managed to freeze a tsunami that was headed for Liyue Harbor. As she proceeds to go after Besht, intending to finish it off alone, despite being worn out from her prior attack. But the traveler also decided to help. She later admits she's confident, however, she could have finished it off by herself, and both Ningguang and Cloud Retainer recognized that without Shenhe present, this entire ordeal would have been a complete disaster. So again, really stretching the definition of the word human here. Although other freakishly strong humans exist in Teyvat, take Noel for instance, who lifted an entire filled bookshelf in the library with one hand to keep sweeping or some shits. Odds are, however, there is an even more powerful, seemingly ordinary human looming on the horizon. In the fourth spot, I have Wanderer. He's an interesting one to place for a number of different reasons. Wanderer's biggest strength is his being. As a divinely created puppet, what makes him so unique, and part of why he was able to achieve rank 6th within the Fatui Harbingers, is the fact that his body can take abuse.
Isn't that right, witch? Muddle-headed puppet. You're only number 6 because you can take more abuse than other humans. Do you really count that as an asset?
You were the most resilient test subject I ever came across. Thanks to you, I was able to garner a great deal of information.
Soon after joining the Fatui, he would lead a great many expeditions into the Abyss, and furthermore, he'd have his full potential unlocked by the Doctor. This never-ending cycle of going into the Abyss, getting smashed, then repaired by the Doctor, would also make him stronger. Quote, on the Tsaritsa's orders, he would lead a company to explore the Abyss, and there he spent much time. More than once he was wounded, then repaired by the Doctor, and thus he grew stronger, surviving to be wounded again by ever mightier foes. Given he's a little under 500 years old, one can surmise that doing this cycle for some time has made him quite powerful indeed. He's kind of like Doomsday in that regard. Any fucking Superman fans in here? Part of what makes Wanderer difficult to rank is his feats are vague, and we've never seen him do anything as Wanderer or Scar a bunch. The Traveler never ever fought him in this form, and the most we've ever got to him fighting is him fighting Sino in a For Fun event that isn't really meant to be a show of strength. But regardless, his rank among the Harbingers, many trips to the Abyss, and his being speak for themselves, and as such, I place him 4th, the 3rd strongest character aside from the gods. This might anger some people. I have Xiao. For a long time, Xiao has always been the zenith of strength when it comes to ranking those that aren't gods, but times are changing, baby. Xiao is the first illuminated beast to make this list. However, He belongs to an extremely special class of illuminated beasts, the Yakshas. The Yakshas were known for their dreadful appearances, warlike temperament, and the fact that they showed no mercy on the battlefield. It's due to these attributes that Rex Lapis would call upon them to deal with the remains of the gods as they fell during the Archon War. Of all the Yakshas that once were, only Xiao remains in the modern era. Xiao has fought countless battles in the Archon War alongside not just his Yaksha brethren, but with Rex Lapis himself. Xiao is give or take about 2,000 years old and has been fighting battles against demons for give or take about 2,000 years. All this guy does is fights monsters and evil gods' remains, no matter how big a toll it takes on him. While he's not invincible by any stretch of the word, he most certainly has the most fight experience of anyone on this list, which makes his strength invaluable to most. In second place, I put Cloud Retainer. Cloud Retainer is interesting in that while her fighting capabilities aren't that known, it's not what she's fucking known for, she is simply an extremely powerful entity, the oldest being on this list. She too is an illuminated beast and adeptus that's known Rex Lapis since before the Archon War even started. The origin of her name, Cloud Retainer, came about when Lorewise was dealing with a brutal drought, and to top it off, a poisonous gas began to infect the area. As a result, an adeptus used wind to retain the clouds, causing the clouds of the sky to gather and bring forth rains, pushing away the poison gas and saving Lorewise from a brutal drought. Thus, Cloud Retainer. Keep in mind, by the way, Scaramunch here was only able to control the weather with a gnosis, while she was just able to do it with her own powers. And by the way, her fighting prowess still shouldn't go understated either, as she did fight alongside both Xiao and Rex Lapis in the Archon War for many battles, and given her age, she saw the entirety of the Archon War from start to finish. And according to Xiao, following her good friend Guizhong's death, Cloud Retainer, that nigga just turned into Game 6 LeBron during the war, dog. But where she really shines, however, is with her mechanics. Cloud Retainer is a genius inventor who in part helped to finish constructing the Guizhong ballistas after Guizhong's passing. What's more, in the fights against Osial, she managed to upgrade the Guizhong ballistas on the fly to render it useful enough to fight against a god. And now I do want to finish this thought off before we get to number 1 on the adepti. While yes, they on paper sound extremely impressive, the odd thing is, in the fight versus Osial, the 6 or 7 adepti here who all fought in the Archon War weren't sure if their combined strength alone was enough to defeat Osial, which should just go to show how instrumental Zhongli, the god of contracts, was to their success in the Archon War, and why Arlecchino is the strongest non-god on this list. Now I do want to point something out. While yes, Arlecchino is the 4th ranked harbinger, which makes it sound as if she's just under the big 3, the problem is we have no idea how big or small a gap exists between her and they said big 3 who have power rivaling the gods. Arlecchino is interesting in that much about her is a mystery. While she appears to be a human for all intents and purposes, there are certain aspects of her that seem warped, be it the blackening of her limbs or the fact that she seemingly glitches in and out of reality. Cursed with the Conry and Bale Moon blood fire flowing through her veins, she has innate fire powers so strong they allowed her to kill a Fatui Harbinger at just 16, and since then she's gained even more power via a pyro vision and a pyro delusion. Bitch loves fucking fire. Never, always useful on a fucking camping trip, I suppose. Anyway, aside from her being the 4th ranked harbinger, look, there isn't much to go on, but I'm just eyeballing it, bro. I test. Last time I seen a nigga move this quickly at fucking Mach 7 was when Kazuha activated the first new Electro Vision in 2 years. She had a whole fucking domain expansion. Look, she just looks like she was fucking made to kill, alright? Crimson Moon Dynasty, alright? Anyway, that's the list. I think I did a good job. Yeah. I did a great job.